We've just completed a retreat on the qualities of Jizo Bodhisattva. And there was also some creative practice at this retreat, so we'll be sharing something about that. There are many qualities of a bodhisattva. Bodhisattvas being people who have lived and endeavored to be enlightened, and in that process clarify themselves and could go on to be fully enlightened and yet decide to hang back and help everyone, to help all beings become enlightened. It is a vow of bodhisattvas to help all beings in every realm. And to do that requires some particular qualities. To do that requires some particular ways of being. And in this retreat, we learned about those and learned some ways to incline ourselves in these ways of being. So one of the qualities is great determination. Also benevolence or loving kindness, friendliness, warm-heartedness, all of those kinds of qualities. We also practiced quite a bit with generosity, really soaking in the generosity that is in everything. Jizo Bodhisattva's qualities also include fearlessness, unflagging optimism. Jizo is sometimes seen as something like a patron saint of lost causes. To Jizo, there are no lost causes. And finally, great vow, which in a way circles us back to determination, doesn't it? It really requires determination to step by step maintain ourselves on the path. We did ceramic representations of Jizo, and for some people it was their first experience with ceramics. And those are on the side of the cafeteria. You'll have a chance to look at them, the creations that people made. They're all very beautiful expressions of these qualities. We also painted rocks and imbued those rocks with images and words that express these qualities of Jizo. One of the things I want to share about Jizo Bodhisattva is, and Jizo has any gender, Jizo uses all the pronouns. One of the ways that Jizo assists and helps all beings is going into any and all realms where beings suffer. So traditionally there are 6 realms in Buddhism. We talk about the beings in the 6 realms. And you might think those are somewhere else. I mean, certainly we are in the human realm, but we can also be in any of the other realms as humans in our ability to suffer. So the 6 realms are the heavenly realm is one, then the realm of the jealous gods, the human realm, the hungry ghost realm, the animal realm and the hell realm. And certainly we've all touched these, or we can observe these realms in existence. The hell realm, people who are living in war, or people who are living in pain, whether that's physical or psychological, just wanting to get away. The animal realm is real for us when we're just able to only focus on our survival and just live on our instincts, maybe just for food, safety, survival, that life is diminished just to these survival aspects. The hungry ghosts are beings with large bellies and tiny little necks in the traditional iconography, but they're starving because they can't get any food to fit down their throat, and anytime they drink or eat anything, it burns. They can only tolerate about a grain of rice at a time, so they're just in a constant state of unsated desire. And we all certainly know that state of suffering. And even in the jealous God realm, we can see just look through any People magazine and you can see what that's about. Or in the realm of politics. I don't know, that may arguably be a hell realm, but in the heavenly realm, you would think that's, I'd rather be there, but it's so pleasant that we don't feel the need to practice. And we might not even be aware of the suffering of others. So there's a way that it's suffused with ignorance. So, and also people who seem to have everything they want, people who seem to be existing in a heavenly realm, sometimes they're pretty unhappy, and we can see that, evidence of that. We had a procession through the Jizo garden, through the forest at night with lanterns, and we lit them. And there were a few people who were tasked with enacting the roles of hungry ghosts in the forest and moaning and groaning with pain. And those of us in the procession of lights, and we had a Jizo feeding these hungry ghosts and trying to pull them in to the practice, pull them into the Zendo and the teachings, which is the true food, Dharma being the true food that can satisfy in any lasting way, in any real way. I'm struck by the people who played those roles, and they were hamming it up. It was really fun. But it's true that these realms are what we do experience when we suffer, when we are just wanting, or not wanting, arguing with life. This is the very definition of suffering. And it's real. People who played those roles said were kind of surprised themselves. So maybe that's something of a way to set up some of the ways that these, bringing out the teachings, bringing out this image of Jizo, just even bringing forward an image can be of benefit, can be an impact. Bansho and I did a baby blessing and on Sunday last week, and we had a little statue of Jizo, and we had just, this had been followed, or it followed a retreat we did on the coast, so we also had a statue of Kanzeon. And so we described what Jizo was about to the children who were in attendance and the other families. And of course, the children asked the question, well, who's this other statue here of Kanzeon, the Bodhisattva of compassion? And Bansho said something really helpful, just on this level of about a 7-year-old, 9-year-old level, that he described what compassion is when you care about somebody and you see them suffering and you want them to feel better. It's kind of hard to draw or represent that feeling, isn't it? So we use a person like this here to represent that for us. And that definition made sense to them. So the importance of us delivering these images, these qualities of the bodhisattvas out into the world should not be underestimated.
I actually need Hogan's laptop to do this. But so while that's on its way to me, great.
I think you can leave it there.
Let me move over there then, because I have to read the facts from
Oh,
it.
you actually do?
Yeah,
It can extend up there.
okay. Thank you.
Bluetooth.
The Siri realm.
USB. No USB connected.
Very helpful.
I read a joke yesterday about
Oh, sorry.
I read a joke yesterday that a man's wife asked him why he was being so quiet and soft-spoken around the house. And he said, well, I think that like Elon Musk and all those people who work in tech are listening to me. And his wife laughed, and then Siri laughed, and then Alexa laughed. Are the pictures up? Yeah. Okay, I just wanted to show you this in terms of making a Jizo image or making a Jizo rock, painting a Jizo rock. We might think, oh, you know, that's kind of a kindergarten activity. It's fun for a while, but it doesn't mean very much. But there was a non-religious man in Oakland, and Oakland is if you know the Bay Area, it's can be a very violent area of the Bay Area and troubled area. And he decided in an area of neighborhood crime that he would install a Buddha statue. So there are a lot of Thai and Hmong people living around that area, and they are Buddhist. And he decided to put a statue of a Buddha on the street corner. So you can see the first picture up there. So it was a very small little altar on the corner of 11th Avenue and East 19th. And it was an area that was riddled with all kinds of activities, from littering to vandalism to drug dealing to robberies, prostitution, and lots of assaults. And this man, his name is Dan Stevenson, bought a 60-centimeter tall stone statue of the Buddha and just put it on the street corner outside his home. And it was an area where people were constantly dumping mattresses and couches and other junk. And all kinds of shady characters, this is the news story, would hang around. So he figured the statue would be an improvement. But in this case, it was an understatement to call it possibly an improvement. He said, I would have stuck Christ up there if he would have kept the mattresses off. Except Christ is so controversial with people. Buddha is a neutral dude. So originally he was hoping that the presence of the figure would bring a sense of serenity to this troubled neighborhood. Or at the very least, make people think twice before littering. But what he didn't expect was that the Buddha statue would create a ripple effect that would result in a complete transformation of the neighborhood. First, the littering stopped, much to the delight of most of the residents. This is from a news article from Oakland. But then something even more remarkable happened. Locals started cleaning up the trash that was already there. Drug dealers and prostitutes started migrating away from the area as well, and vandals stopped painting graffiti on walls. Soon, local Vietnamese immigrants in the neighborhood began flocking to the statue, bringing offerings of fruit, garlands, and sticks of incense. Eventually, a neighbor named Vina Vo and her son, Kuk Vo, approached Stevenson with the request that they could care for the statue, to which he agreed. First, they built a small platform for the Buddha to sit on and began to maintain the area around the Buddha. This is what Kovok said. In our religion, Buddha is not supposed to be on the ground. In time, they painted him as well, first just white, but then flesh-colored with golden robes. The little shrine even has a name plaque that reads Phap Duen Tu, meaning tranquility, but in Vietnamese. Every time they want to make a change to the shrine, the Vo family approached Stevenson for permission. But he kept telling them, it's your Buddha, I'm out of this now. Nonetheless, he was always happy to receive a plate of a Vietnamese delicacy every time he lets them know that they can do whatever they want. In the time since Stevenson erected the statue, the overall crime rate in the neighborhood has dropped by an incredible 82%. Police statistics showed that between 2012 and 2014, quote, robbery reports went from 14 to 3, aggravated assaults from 5 to 0, burglaries from 8 to 4, narcotics from 3 to 0, and prostitution from 3 to 0. Dan Stevenson said, it's become this icon for the whole neighborhood. There's a lot of people that are not Buddhist that really come and just talk in front of him. They walk their dogs, they stand there. It's a place where people meet and talk. It's just cool. He's a popular little guy, says Stevenson. He's got a Facebook page. He's got a Twitter account. He's more connected socially than I am. He's a great little guy. Oops, let's see. Can you see all the pictures? Can you see the three? Can you see the big shrine that got built? Okay. He's more socially connected than I am. He's a great little guy, I guess, but it's an amazing, amazing thing. So I thought this was such an interesting story that we don't know the effect of our practice. We don't know the ripple effect from painting a Jizo rock and leaving it in a troubled neighborhood. We don't know the effect of establishing a temple in a troubled neighborhood, or taking food to somebody who can't go out and buy their own groceries. Every act of generosity, every act of our practice, every moment that we're sitting in the zendo and not out buying things, there's a ripple effect that spreads out. One of Hirata Roshi's stories that he tells periodically is about a resident at Sogenji in Okayama, and people get a visitor's visa so they can stay in Japan for 3 months, but then they have to take an overnight ferry to Korea and go to the Japanese embassy and renew their visa so they can come back and spend 3 more months at Sogenji. And one resident was on that overnight ferry, and he decided to sit at the front of the boat in the moonlight. And he did that through the night as the ferry crossed over to Korea. And the next morning, a person came up to him who had been on the ferry and said, I just want to thank you. And he said, for what? And the person said, I had determined that my life was completely a wreck and I was going to jump off the boat in the middle of the night and commit suicide. But when I came out and saw you sitting so serenely in the moonlight, it completely changed my heart. And I decided to go on and live. So we never know what effect our practice will have. Of course, we're hoping it'll change us, but it could change many, many more people's lives than we imagine.
So let's practice generosity in a brief meditation. So don't have to move or anything, just wherever you are, however you're sitting. Just allowing the eyes to lower and maybe scanning attention through the body, allowing any places of tension or holding to let go, relax as best you can. Perhaps focusing on the gentle movement of the breath, or wherever your meditation focus might be. And now just dropping in this question: how can I be generous right here, right now? How can I be generous? Just sitting here. An answer may or may not arise. But just continuing to breathe with this question open to: how can I be generous? Okay. So just maybe bringing some movement into fingers and toes and letting some light in the eyes. Reorienting to the room. I wonder what you found in that very brief meditation. Would anybody be willing to share?
So we looked at generosity as a koan. What were we observing about generosity in our meditation? And the other koan that we had was, why does the mind not want to rest in the present moment and keeps hopping off to future, past, or fantasy? To me, it's the essential question, one of the essential questions of our practice. And the more we investigate it, the more we learn about what is going on in here and what's driving this person. So anybody who worked on that koan, well, let's do this first. Okay, so if everybody would just close your eyes and imagine something about the future. Bring your mind to the future, whatever it likes to think about in the future. Future plans, possibilities, what you'd like to do with your living quarters, your, every part of your life. What are your plans for your life? What do you want to buy in the way of clothing? How would you like to rearrange your garden or rearrange your children? Okay, so planning mind, future mind. Now I'd like you to tell me, if this is a movie that you're watching, who's the star of that movie? Who's at the center? Really? Okay, now, if you would release your mind from the future and put it in the past. So something in the past that your mind keeps ruminating over. One of those if only I have said this, or if only they had done this, or one of those situations, especially a sticky one. Okay, bring that memory to life. And now, who's the star of that movie? Okay, now open your mind as wide as you can. Just release everything. Just breathe out all the stuff that's cluttering up the mind. Breathe it out. Let the mind be vast, spacious, without boundaries. And just open the sense world. Listening to sounds, the obvious sounds and the subtle sounds. And the sound between the sounds. Like a kind of music, subtle music being played for you. Now take in all the touches, all those little tiny touches where your clothing caresses your body as you breathe, where the floor is supporting your feet, your body. Now bring in temperature, areas of warmth or coolness in the sensory field. And then even if your eyes are closed, bring in light and dark, what you can see behind your eyelids, perhaps lots of color, light, dark, flashing in and out. Now open the sense field to include all of those: sound, touch, temperature, light and dark. And then ask, who's at the center of this movie, of this experience? Is there a center? Thank you. Now you can, if you had your eyes closed, let light back in. Move a bit if you'd like to move. So some of you did this in Chozen. And we won't pass the microphone around, but you can just say out loud, and I'll repeat it for the microphone. When you were in the future, who was the star of that movie? Me, yes. When you were in the past, who was the star of the movie? Yeah. When you were resting in the present moment, in wide open awareness, who was the star?
Scrub Jay.
The Scrub Jay. What did you find?
I'm totally the star, that all the experience is surrounding like a core of sensation, and there's internal sensation pushing and pulling the sensation, and there's...
So you could still detect the self in the middle of wide open awareness?
Strong. There's sensation, there's sensation about the sensation. And all the sensation seems like, yeah, it's in a relationship to me, and it's not really the sensation anyway.
So try when you do it again to let go of the center, so that the field of awareness has no center. It's just a broad field of awareness. Okay, I'm just giving you that. I'm giving you that instruction. Anybody else? When you were truly resting in the present moment, what did you find?
Yeah, everything. Everything was the star.
Everything was the star
Yeah.
of the movie.
All the sounds, all the bees and the birds, all the light,
Mm-hmm.
everything around.
Mm-hmm.
That was the star.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Don't know.
Don't know what the center was. Mm-hmm. Ensemble cast. Isn't that interesting? You know, nothing is true for everyone. We all have different experiences. It's amazing we can communicate because we have so many different experiences. But when we're resting in the flow, the kind of pixelated experience of now, whether it's sound or color or light or touch or temperature, there's just flow. And does a stream have a center? No, a stream is a stream. But we're also aligned with impermanence, as happened with the flowers. Right? That's just a flow. If those flowers were a statue of a flower, think of how different that experience would be. A statue of a flower versus living flowers that are moving and changing, and some are old and some are, in a statue probably you wouldn't have the old ones. You just have a beautiful bouquet. So this is a hint about why it's hard for us to stay in the present moment. Could we even be afraid of it? As the self begins to dissolve into everything that is, could we even be afraid? Or as we match the flow of impermanence, could we be afraid of that? So these are just questions to explore in your practice. The other reason that I love for the meditation on the flowers is, for me, it's such a vivid expression of life. When the bees and the moths and the butterflies are around and buzzing around and the flowers are constantly moving and the light is shifting, it's such a vivid experience of life. And when I was writing the vows book, I asked Harada Roshi about vows, what his thoughts about vows. And he paused for a minute and then he said, life is the primary vow. Now there's one reason for that is all of our vows, we have to be alive to manifest our vows, to create our vows and manifest our vows. It's our life energy that enables us to work with our vows. But there's another reason that is aligned with optimism, the quality of optimism in Jizo Bodhisattva. Because if you think of many things that we lament, like our own death or extinction of certain animals or plants, we're not accounting for life, for the power of life. So, extinction of animals, all the dinosaurs went extinct when asteroids hit the Earth, right? And the little tiny little shrews, mammals, suddenly grew, and eventually humans came about. So that's amazing. And apparently there was life on Mars, and it was wiped out. So if we look through the galaxy, how many times has life arisen and be wiped out? And why do we think we're special and we're the only ones that shouldn't go extinct? Or why do we think our country is so special? Yes, it's lovely to have a working democracy, but I have a newsfeed which is about archaeology, and every week they discover a new hidden civilization hidden under the sands that they didn't know existed except from some records. And they realize it existed for 300, 2,000, 500 years and then disappeared. This is the fundamental truth of impermanence. And yet, out of that impermanence, life keeps springing up. And now that we know that there are so many exoplanets out there, inevitably there's some life form. We might not recognize it as life. So we get back to ourselves and I want humans to be alive and stay alive forever and ever. And Siri laughed. Thank you all.